What's up, guys? Amanda Nyberg, registered dietitian, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to be diving into one of my favorite topics, and that is all things protein. Now, I know that if you're on social media or if you're thinking about optimizing your health and wellness, us kind of health specialists are talking a lot about protein these days. And I want to just kind of break down why protein is so important, why we're talking about it so much more, how it plays a role in your weight loss, your body's ability to build mass, and your maintenance at the end of the day. So let's get into it. Protein is one of the 4 macronutrients. There are 4 macronutrients that make up the calories in which you eat. Those are carbohydrates, fats, proteins, and alcohol. And protein is getting a lot of screen time these days because we have a better understanding of protein as a macronutrient and the role in which it plays in order to build lean muscle mass, keep us full and satisfied, and promote fat metabolism. One of the easiest ways that I can explain to my lean clients about the importance of protein is unique because it is the one macronutrient that we must consume adequate amounts every single day. Okay, we have carbohydrate stores. We have carbohydrate stores in our liver in the form of glycogen. We have carbohydrate stores in our muscle mass. We have carbohydrate stores in our fat cells. All right, we have fat stores. Okay, so those 2 macronutrients we have the ability to obtain within our body, but we do not have adequate protein stores. We have areas to obtain protein from the body, but when the body's not receiving enough protein and it has to go find the necessary protein that we need, you're actually doing it at the result of reducing your metabolic rate and reducing your overall muscle mass, okay? And that is because, again, the easiest way to look at it is that protein, our body has 2 options. We can find protein or we can burn fat, but we cannot do both, all right? And that's why consuming adequate amounts of protein every single day is critical for sustaining your muscle mass, which is important for your metabolism, and accelerating fat metabolism. Because if your body is fed adequate amounts of protein, then that fat burning pathway is wide open, okay? Your body is not busy looking for the protein it needs. But if you're not consuming enough protein, that fat metabolism pathway is shut down while the body works to find the protein it needs. And the only place to find protein in the body is through our muscles and tissues. And that's why I'm constantly telling my clients the weight in which you lose matters, okay? When people talk about starvation mode and how starvation mode reduces your metabolism, how undereating reduces your metabolic rate, while undereating to lose weight makes you gain the weight back faster, it's really more of a protein issue. Because when we underconsume calories, we can assume that we are underconsuming protein. And it is really that loss of muscle and tissue that reduces our overall metabolic rate or puts us into starvation mode, more so than it is that overall caloric consumption. And so once you understand that protein is a daily goal, you know, it's not a weekly goal. It's a set point number. It's not a percentage. You know, you really have to look at it as a specific number, not a percentage of calories in which you eat. And you learn how to optimize your protein because you can't eat it all at once is when the big results begin. I'm here to tell you. So let's break it down. Let's talk a little bit more about it. So hopefully by now you understand you must consume adequate amounts of protein every single day. So the number one question that I get from people is, well, how much protein do I need? And that's going to vary from person to person, okay? If you're Shaquille O'Neal and you weigh, you know, well over 200 pounds, 250, 300 pounds, you know, I don't know his exact weight. He's a very tall man with a lot of muscle mass. He probably needs 200 grams of protein, 250 grams of protein a day. But if you're Sally Sue, who's 5 feet tall and weighs 110 pounds, you probably don't need that much protein. So your protein needs are really based on your height, your weight, your muscle mass, maybe even your age. And I'll talk about that in just a second. But I can say pretty, with good authority that almost everyone needs at least 100 grams of protein a day. It's a great place to start. Under 100 grams of protein a day is most likely going to be insufficient for most people unless you're under 5 feet tall. Okay, so the number one goal should be to be getting at least 100 grams of protein a day. You can also look at your protein goal as what your ideal body weight should be. So I'm not a huge fan of ideal body weight charts and things like that because I think that they're ridiculously low. For example, I'm 5'5". The ideal body weight says I should weigh 125. There's no way I will ever weigh 125. I weigh about 140. So I don't think it's a good predictor of what your weight should be, but it is a good predictor of what your kind of minimum protein goal should be. So I know I need to be getting at least 120 to 130 grams of protein a day. Another way to look at it is if you are at a healthy weight, if your percent body fat is under 30%, you are in kind of a maintenance mode, you should probably be eating at your body weight in protein. So again, focus on getting at least 100 grams and then have a better understanding of maybe what your optimal number is. Once you know what your daily protein goal is, then you want to take your protein goal and you want to divide it by 3. The body can only optimize so much protein in one sitting. And you may have heard people say, well, you can only absorb 20 grams of protein in one sitting. Well, that's false. Your protein optimization rate is based on your protein needs, okay? Back to Shaquille O'Neal. He needs probably 200 to 300 grams of protein a day. If he could only optimize 20 grams of protein at a time, he'd have to eat all day long. Like he'd be eating at least 10 times a day, all right? But because of his size, because of his mass, he's gonna be able to optimize a lot more protein in one sitting. I would say, 50, 60, 70, 80 grams at a time. But then we go back to Sally Sue, who's, 5 feet tall, weighs 110 pounds. Her protein goal is about 100. Her body's ability to optimize 50 to 60 grams of protein it's just not going to happen. She's going to do much better. Her body's going to optimize smaller doses of protein, maybe 20 to 30 grams. So to understand what your optimal per meal protein goal should be, it's very simple. Take your protein goal, divide it by 3. I need at least 120 grams of protein a day. That means that I should be aiming for about 40 grams of protein at each meal. Now, I think, and this is a whole different video, but I am a true believer that we need to cut back on snacking. The whole 6 small meals a day is wrecking your metabolic rate. It's not improving your metabolism. It's wrecking your blood sugar regulation. It's not improving it. So to me, the most ideal meal pattern is somewhere between 3 and 4 meals a day. So if I do 3 meals a day, I'm going to do 40, 40, 40. If I do 4 meals a day, I'm going to do 30, 30, 30, 30. There is so much benefit in making sure that you get at least 20 grams of protein with everything you eat. All right. So understanding your optimal protein goal, dividing it by 3 or 4, and really aiming to hit that protein at each meal makes hitting your overall goal so much easier. Okay. So protein optimization is key. Okay. Spacing out your protein is key. Your results are going to be so much better when your body gets a little bit of protein at every meal. Now, obviously, my ideal per meal protein goal is 40, 40, 40, but there is flexibility there. It's not to say if I eat 45 grams of protein, I'm not going to optimize 5 of them. All right. I say that you can flex kind of 10 grams, up or down. So there is flexibility. I could probably optimize 50 grams of protein at one meal, but it wouldn't be ideal for me to do 60 grams of protein in my first meal and 60 grams of protein in my second meal. I'm going to see better results. I'm going to build muscle better. I'm going to have better protein optimization if I space it out throughout the day. All right. A couple of other things that you've got to understand about protein. Number 1, protein fills you up. It keeps you full. when you focus on optimizing your protein, because in my lean program, we do two things. We aim to eat at or under our calories, okay? If you're looking for weight loss, we put you in a caloric deficit. If you're looking to maintain, we put your calories at maintenance. So you want to be at or under your calories, and you want to be at or over your protein, okay? When you simply focus on optimizing your protein at each meal, your other macronutrients fall into place effortlessly, because protein fills you up and keeps you full. You can't eat as much when you have 4 ounces of chicken, 5 ounces of chicken, 6 ounces of chicken, versus carbs are very easy to overconsume because they digest so rapidly. It takes 4 to 5 hours for your body to break down carbohydrates, proteins. 4 to 5 hours for your body to break down proteins, fats, and fiber. It takes 1 to 2 hours for your body to break down carbohydrates. Let me give you an example. You get up in the morning, you eat a bagel, you eat a bowl of oatmeal. I guarantee in an hour or two, you're starving. But if you get up in the mornings, think about like Saturday mornings when you get up and you make a big breakfast and you've got eggs and bacon and sausage and toast with avocado. You know, you've got a lot of protein, you've got a lot of fat, you've got a lot of fiber. Again, you're full until 1 o'clock. Okay. And it has to do with the fact that you optimized your protein. You ate a lot of protein at that meal. So protein is really helpful in managing your hunger. The more protein you consume at each meal, the less hunger you have between meals, giving you time to avoid nibbling and grazing and snacking throughout the day. Number 2, as you age, your protein needs go up. All right. The less muscle mass you have, the more protein you need. So a lot of people think as you get older, I need less protein, or I don't work out, I need less protein. I don't have a lot of muscle, I need less protein. No, it's just the opposite. You need more protein. All right. The reason why age impacts your protein needs is because your body is not as efficient at breaking it down. So when you're 20 years old, and you eat 20 grams of protein, your body probably optimizes all 20 grams. But when you're 60 years old and you eat 20 grams of protein, your body is not going to efficiently optimize all 20 grams. And because of that, your protein need is a little bit higher. Okay. So if for example, let's say you eat 20 grams of protein at every meal, but you only optimize about 15 grams. Who knows what that number is? We just know that optimization goes down as you age. You still need 100 grams of protein. But if you think you're getting 20 grams, but you're really only optimizing 20, you need more. So a lot of times when I'm working with women that are over, 40, 50, 60 years of age, I really try to stress, like, this is your bare minimum. You probably need more protein than this. So another thing to consider, protein is important for preventing sarcopenia. One of the biggest reasons why weight loss gets harder as we age is due to the loss of muscle mass. I talked a little bit about it in the beginning. When you lose muscle mass, you are losing your metabolism, and it's making it harder for you to lose weight. So we want to make sure that we're doing everything as we age in order to prevent muscle loss. 2 big things play a role in that. Number 1, adequate amounts of protein. Number 2, weight-bearing exercise. Okay, so increasing your protein intake, eating adequate protein is going to prevent sarcopenia. So if you haven't been focusing on optimizing your protein, I'm telling you, it's probably your missing link. Protein is in almost every food we eat. It's not specific to animals. However, animal protein is your best source of protein. But you can get proteins from plants, you get proteins from grains, you pretty much get a little bit of protein from everything you eat other than fruits. So it is the combination of the foods that you eat that are really going to help you bring your protein up. Now, I do believe that animal protein is the most superior protein there is. It is what we consider the most complete protein, meaning it has a full amino acid profile. If you choose to omit animals in your diet, it just makes hitting your protein goal so much harder. It's not impossible, but you do have to work a lot harder because your ability to optimize big chunks of protein at one time is going to be a lot harder. The other thing that you have to realize, that if you are omitting all sources of animal protein, it is very important that you have a large variety of different plant-based protein sources. Okay, most plant-based protein sources do not have a full amino acid profile. All right, they have a partial amino acid profile, and every plant protein will be different. So in order to ensure that you're getting that full amino acid profile, you have to be eating a lot of variety. You can't just eat soy. You can't just eat hemp hearts. You can't just eat beans. You need to be eating beans and soy and edamame and tofu and hemp hearts and legumes and chickpeas and again, as much variety as possible, quinoa and all the things in order to make sure that you're getting that full amino acid profile. So hopefully this gives you a better understanding of protein. The only other thing that I will mention is two things. Number one, a lot of times when people start increasing their protein intake, they start to feel GI issues, a lot of bloating, like they're just not digesting the food, they're not breaking it down. Some of that has to do with the fact that protein takes 4 to 5 hours to digest. And if you are living on a high carb diet, you're used to food rapidly digesting. So you're not used to food kind of sitting in your stomach for longer periods. But it can also have to do with your lack of appropriate digestive enzymes. Every person over 40, especially women over 40, should consider taking a digestive enzyme with their biggest meals. There are so many things in our environment. There are so many things that we consume, like prescription medications, additives, all the things that are decreasing the amount of digestive enzymes that we have in our body as we age. And if you don't have these enzymes in appropriate amounts to break down carbohydrates, proteins, fats, lactose, sugar, fiber, you will feel a lot of GI distress when you consume more of those products. So I see a lot of success with people just simply adding a digestive enzyme before their biggest meals, and it really helps them to break down and optimize that protein. The other thing that I think is important to note about protein is, again, the fact that it does fill you up. So it does take some time for you to get used to consuming that extra protein. Also, it's important to note that when you look at your protein sources, you have basically you have three forms. You have very lean protein, meaning it is very low fat, high protein, low calorie. You also have very high fat protein, meaning that it is high protein, high fat, high calorie. And then when you're using plant-based proteins, you can even have proteins that are high in carbs. So they're moderate protein, high carb, moderate calories. So again, when I'm teaching my clients about the importance of what it takes for weight loss, again, being at or under your caloric deficit, being at or over your protein, it's really important to make sure that you're choosing the leanest protein sources possible. People will come to me and say, Amanda, when I increase my protein, my calories go way up. And what I want you to understand is it's not the protein that's causing your calories to go up. It's the fat in the protein that's causing your calories to go up. So I'm going to do a separate video that talks about how to optimize your protein while staying in a caloric deficit. But in general, recognize that peanut butter is not going to help you optimize your protein. It's going to cost you 600 to 800 calories to get 30 grams of protein from peanut butter. Whereas if you're using a low-fat cottage cheese, it's going to cost you 150 to 200 calories to get 30 grams of protein. So be careful of the fat, because the high-fat protein sources are the ones that will crush your calories in the long run. So if you found this video informational, beneficial, definitely hit the subscribe button, share it with your friends and family. I've got so much more to come for you. Ask your questions in the comments below, and I'll be happy to answer them.